Everybody, good morning. Cheers. In this one, we're going to go over my UI. There's a lot to cover. We're going to go over my add-ons. We're going to go over WeakAuras. We've got macros, and we've got healing tips and tricks. But before I get into that, just a real quick note. Thank you guys for the follows or subscriptions, I guess, on YouTube, follows on Twitch, the likes and comments on the videos. Really appreciate it. I'm trying to get partnered on YouTube, and to do that, I need 1,000 subs. So we're on track for hitting that. But the other metric is like watch time. So you need 4,000 watched hours across all your videos within a 365-day period. So I'm at about 1,200. I actually used to have that metric, like I used to have that 4,000 hour mark hit back in when Shadowlands was out, because I was making videos then. But yeah, so it's been a few years since I've done YouTube like this. And yeah, so all that to say, thank you. And if you guys are watching a video and you're like, oh, okay, I got everything out of this video, instead of closing it, if you guys want to leave it on your third screen, or go into your living room for some reason and turn on your smart TV and put one of my videos on in the background, that would be super duper. Okay, let's jump into the video. Anyways, so the first thing you're gonna notice, actually the first thing you're not gonna notice, is that I play on an ultra wide. Secrets out. I used to mention in my early videos, so if ever you see something I've like cut off, or I'm referencing something that like maybe seemed like it was off my screen, that's probably why. I have a lot of screen real estate here, but I zoom it in for you guys so it's a normal size. Okay. Now the other thing you might notice is that I am in a follower dungeon right now. So there's a few little weird interactions, and I'll explain it right now. So if I put Riptide on myself, on Bazoo, but then I put on somebody else, the icons are different. That's just a follower dungeon thing. If we're in a real dungeon, this Riptide would look the same on all players. It would be the same size, and you would see the countdown happening. So that's the only reason why it looks weird here. It's because I'm on a follower dungeon. All right, like I said, we have a lot to cover. So let's first check the WoW token price. Decent. All right, let's jump into add-ons. Okay, so it's funny. I recorded this video last night, and then I realized I had a bunch of add-ons that I wasn't using anymore, whether they were enabled or not. I decided to go through my list and clear them up. So this should be a little bit more succinct now. Okay, first one is, well, ignore the first one. I'll come back to it. It's just a database for a Weakaura that I use, so we'll come back to that. Chatinator is just a chat add-on. That's off my screen. Nothing really to write home about. It's just you can copy paste easily from it, and it has a cleaner look. I really like it. OmniCC, this shows the timer cooldowns on your abilities. I know Blizzard has this built into the game, but I just prefer the colors that OmniCC uses by default, or maybe I configured it a long time ago. I've been using it for a long time, and I tried using the Blizzard one, but I just prefer this one. Now, one other thing to note, I am colorblind, so a lot of the colors that I choose are going to be very high contrast, which I think is just a smart thing to do, because you want things to stand out, especially important, I don't know, you see this nameplate over here in the background. Because it's this color, I know it's going to cast something important. I'll get into that in a second, but that's just kind of a general thing to note for all my add-ons and my settings. So next is big debuffs. So I know this is big debuffs, but I actually use this for my buffs. So the reason my Riptide is a certain size on my party frames is because of this add-on. You can just go into it and configure the size of it, the size of the icon, the size of the text. You can change the font, and you can even increase the amount of icons that can display on your party frame. I think it's limited normally. So if you're playing a druid, this might be really useful for you. I know there's a few other party frame add-ons that you can use that are pretty popular, that automatically increase that limit, but that's the one I use. Next, we got big wigs. This is a raid timers, so it doesn't really do anything in the dungeons, but I use the add-on that comes with it, which is little wigs, which gives you timers in your dungeons. So we'll talk about that in a second. Cursor trail. Let me get in combat real quick.
Solia is buff missing.
You'll see while I'm in combat, my mouse, or my cursor, has a little circle around it. And I'll show you guys my settings. I know I've seen some people ask about that. So if you do /CT, shape is ring 1, soft, model is none, scale 80, opacity 100. There you go. All right, next add-on. Let's keep this rolling. Details, that's just your damage meter and healing meter. And I also use the streamer plugin, which shows you my previous cast above my damage meter. So if I'm casting, you'll see I use Riptide, healing myself, it just shows it down here. Leatrix Plus, it just had a little quality of life add-on. It basically automates quests, so it picks up quests and turns them in. It'll sell my junk, it'll repair my gear, auto releases in PvP. And the one I actually really like is Queue from Friends. So if I'm in a group with a friend and they sign up for a dungeon, it's automatically gonna like accept my role and like accept queuing. So yeah, it's super helpful. It just saves a little bit of time. So Little Wigs, yeah, it's your timers for dungeons, and I use this in combination with a Weakaura. Nothing too much to talk about other than like here's how you configure it. So you have to go, you do /BW for big wigs, then you go dungeon bosses. Excuse me. And then let's go something like Weakaura. And then here in the top right corner, you got your boss timers, but importantly, you also have your trash timers. My dog is yapping upstairs. If you guys can hear that, I apologize. Hopefully not, but it is what it is. 1 second. Yeah. Anyways, let's continue. So you can change the how certain messages pop up on your screen. I'm trying to think of a good one here. You know, let's go into Prairie, and we'll go Trash Mobs, because I did it for this one recently. Yeah, right here. So the Sharpshooters. I want to see if I'm targeted by pot shot. That's just like another, like kind of like a burst of physical damage that they do. So I ran into here, and I set it to emphasize me only and only when on me for this message. So it just pops up on my screen when I'm targeted. It is a little bit overkill in combination with the Weakaura that I'll get into in a second. Oops. But yeah, I'm just showing you guys my settings. So that's what I have running. All right, method raid tools. The only thing I use this for currently, because I'm not raiding, is so I use the trinket. It's off my screen, but Solia's secret technique. I don't know if I can, this one here. Yeah, this one. So I have to select a player in my party, and I get stats based off of their highest secondary stat. So this add-on pulls in their secondary stat, and then it shows on my party frames. Basically at the start of the dungeon, it'll show everybody's main stat on their party frame, and then I just click my trinket on one of them. So that add-on allows that Weakaura to have that information. I think it's relying on the other players in my group to like having that add-on as well, because sometimes it's incorrect. But yeah, that's the only reason why I have it right now. Minimap button is a pretty cool one. So you see on my minimap, I have this button that has all my add-ons in it. So instead of having 1,000 circles around my minimap, we've got this guy. And you can move it with you press down on your mouse wheel, you can move it around. My slot is another cool one. You don't see it, but if ever you want to like take a snapshot of your UI on one character or maybe on one computer and you want to import it to another computer, this add-on basically takes a snapshot of your character, gives you a code, and then you just upload it to another, or you import it on my slot on another computer or account or realm, whatever. Next you have Mythic Dungeon Tools. So sometimes at the start of my runs, you'll see me click on a route from somebody. This is season 1, let's go season 3, and we'll go like Halls of Atonement, for example. So this shows you here that, look, this is the first pull that the tank's gonna do. It's a section. And then you got the second pull, which is down here. You can mouse over and it kind of highlights it on the side. Nice and easy. It shows you your total percentage, so we'll end the run at 100.64%. Super, super cool. There's a few more things I can talk about here. The only thing I'll mention quickly is like, if you're in charge of planning your route as a healer, oftentimes I see tanks link the routes, but if you're trying to coordinate this with maybe a tank friend, try to space out the hard pulls, like so you have enough times for your CDs to come back up. So I'll tell you what, this is a good route, and then I guess I won't even compare it to something else, but I'll tell you why this is a good route. Pull 1, you're pulling the Shard of Halkios. This one does a ton of AoE damage, and I'm going to use my cooldowns on it, right? To me, it's silly that tanks sometimes go right into the next shard because my CDs might not be up. So what this tank did, his route, is he pulls, you know, he pulls the Slosher, he pulls a Dark Blade and an Obliterator, and pulls some of the Groundskeepers, pulls all these together. We kill this, you know, it takes maybe a minute. And then my CDs are back up for pull 3, which is another Shard of Halkios. So yeah, I don't know. If sometimes you see a route or you feel like something's impossible to heal, sometimes it's good to take a step back and be like, okay, did I do everything properly? Yes, but also check the route. Did it make sense? So it's something to keep in mind. Did it make sense in the sense of giving your cooldowns enough time to come back up? So just a little quick aside. I know there's a lot more videos out there that can go into more depth about routing, but yeah, as a healer, just try to look at it and be like, okay, did I have time for my cooldowns to come back up with this route? If not, maybe I should tell the tank. Okay, Mythic plus timer. I believe this is, I had a few add-ons that affected my timers on the side, but I think this was the one that was overriding the other ones. So it's just the timer add-on that I use. That'll be on my screen on the left-hand side when I'm in a run. Omni CD, this shows my party cooldowns. I have it here off to the left. It's not going to show right now because I'm in a follower dungeon. But the main thing as a healer I like to track are my tank CDs, or when people are using the defensive cooldowns. Their offensive cooldowns, I don't really care for that too much as a healer. That's not going to change much. Other than I guess a pull is going to die more quickly, so I don't have to use as many CDs. But regardless, I'm going to use CDs if people are going to die. So yeah, it's mainly about tracking my tank CDs. And a few other, like if a DK uses AMS, for example, I know I won't have to deal with the mechanic, for example, like in first boss in Tazavesh Streets. If he AMSs the imprisonment, cool, we get to skip that mechanic. Yeah. Plater, super powerful nameplate add-on. The main thing I use it for, obviously I track some of my buffs above my targets. It'll show a mob's like important ability cooldown on the left side of the plate, of the nameplate. And lastly, it's going to be here. Let's just kill a few mobs.
Solia's buff missing.
That Solia's buff missing is just because I don't have my trinket applied, but I can't apply it because the follower dungeon. All right, so yeah, this next pull, if the health bars are red, that means I don't have, or like I have aggro on it technically. As soon as the tank has aggro, these will all turn blue. Now I have an override for this Void Soul, for example. So if I do /plater, there we go, NPC colors and names, and then I can search in here. We're in the Stone Vault. This is going to show me all NPCs in the Stone Vault. Now this is Season 1 dungeon, but you can do this for any dungeon. The ones that were important, where is it? Ghastly Void Soul. Now there were other ones, but at the time I hadn't configured this. But just to show you, if a mob, my rule of thumb is, if a mob has just like a bolt cast, like a standard cast that just does damage, I set their nameplate color to this evoker color. Obviously you can put this to whatever you want, but if they have an important cast that they do periodically, like the, what's a good example of this? I can't think of it right now. Let me see if I go into Priory. Right. So in Priory, the Risen Mages that do that AoE fireball cast near the end of the dungeon, I have them set as orange. So to me, orange is a periodic important cast that I really need to kick, and then this evoker color is they just do a bolt. So yeah, super helpful. And then in combination with that, like I said,
Solia's buff missing.
You got the timers on the left of the screen. So sometimes people will ask me like, how do you kick so quickly? Well, because I'm watching the timer, like the cooldown on their ability, and most of the time the mob's gonna cast as soon as the ability is off cooldown. Yeah, so that's Plater, the main thing that I use it for. There's obviously a ton of things you can customize with Plater, tons of settings. But yeah, the main thing I use it for is basically setting nameplate colors and making sure it's very visually noticeable when a cast is going to be going off. All right, we're almost done going through the add-ons, so hope you guys are keeping up. Postal is just for my mailbox. It doesn't really matter. Raider IO, that tells me other people's Mythic Plus rating, and it gives you a bit more information. Simcraft, this, if you type in /simc, so /simc, it gives you this. It's basically like a code that you can import into different tools that can simulate your character and basically helps point you in the right direction for what kind of gear you want. So as a healer, I go to the website called Questionably Epic. If I remember, I'm gonna make a note of that. Right now, we're doing it live. I'm making a note of that, so it's in the description of the video. Perfect, QE. So Questionably Epic, I can export my character by typing /simc, this pops up. I hit Control C, the window closes. I paste that code on the website, and then it gives you upgrade suggestions and where you can get them, like what crafting gear you should make, which dungeons you should run, what gear you should upgrade, etc. As a DPS, you have a different website. I think it's like Ask Mr. or just Mr. Robot. Yeah, it's different for healers to DPS, but anyways, you're probably here as a healer. All right, next on the list, we've got TomTom. This is just coordinates. I have it set under my minimap. It shows you where you're located in the world. I'm in a dungeon, so it's blank right now, but sometimes you go to like Rawhead, and it tells you go to these coordinates. I think the in-game, like by default in-game, you can have coordinates now, but a lot of old, posts online might only give you TomTom coordinates, so I like just having it. Twitch emotes lets you have Twitch emotes in your chat. Pretty cool. Wago app companion. So to update my add-ons and my WeakAuras, I use this is like software outside of the game called the, what's it called exactly? Wago app. So WAGO space app. And yeah, it lets you, with the click of a button, just update all of your add-ons. But, like I used to use the CurseForge version of this, but it didn't have a WeakAura update as far as I know. So now, if I have this add-on and I have the software, and then I go into my WeakAuras, now none need updating right now, but at the top it would say like 2 add-ons require, or 2 WeakAuras require updates. You just click it, boom, boom, they update. Easy. And then finally, I've got WeakAuras. So those are all the add-ons. I know that was a lot of info, but let's jump. Let's keep the train rolling. Actually, coffee break, 2 seconds. Nice. Alrighty, WeakAuras. Not a ton, but still quite a few. So, first one is /say callouts. So once in a while, you'll see my character do something like, I'll say like AoE above my head. That's not me typing AoE, that's this add-on. So it's just another visual reminder, and I like having it, especially earlier on in the season, because not everybody is gonna have, WeakAuras and like little wigs, like dungeon timers. And some people are still learning the dungeon. And, even at a high level, sometimes people forget mechanic. It just happens. Or you're running late at night, you might not think of a certain mechanic. Because my character is kind of sharing that information with the group, it just gives people an extra reminder that an ability is about to happen. Next, we have auto marker. So, yeah, you'll see it just set a square on this guy for some reason. I don't know why. In a normal dungeon, like a Mythic Plus, it'll put, like you might see, typically it's like star and circle are my default marks, but it'll just throw out random markers on mobs, and then people can easily just type out like who they're going to kick. Now, if a lot of people in this group have this WeakAura or different versions of it, they can't override each other. Like sometimes I'm closer to the mobs, it'll put star on a target, and then the tank will come closer and it'll override it with diamond. So it can be confusing sometimes, but I prefer having this rather than not having anything. Now, in a organized group, I think the meta is, nobody uses this, and then everybody has an assigned mark, and then as you're running into your group, like say mine is, I don't know, moon. So I'd be running into the group, I'll manually mark a target with moon, and then everybody knows I'm kicking moon, because that's what the zoo kicks. But yeah, in a pug environment, I think it's just better to have marks being randomly thrown out. Not randomly, like preemptively thrown out, and then I guess also what I do, so say the add-on throws out the star mark on this guy, what you'll see me doing in a lot of keys, as I'm running into the pull, I'm just going to type in star. And that lets people know, on that pull, I'm kicking star. Some people do at the start of the dungeon, but I think even if you can say it like half a second before you go into a pull, it just gives people that like reminder that like, okay, cool, this guy's kicking star. That's just a nice little tip that I have. Hey, Bloodlust reminder, just show the Bloodlust in the middle of my screen when it's ready, easy. Okay, causes, I don't know how to pronounce this. Causes Anchors is an anchor pack that goes with the main WeakAura dungeon pack that I use called Dwarf in Dungeons. And so this is the WeakAura. It has all the information, all the data. But then instead of moving this around, it feeds the information into... Here, let me back up. We got a lot of sound effects happening over there. That add-on feeds the information into this one, or I guess pulls where they're going to be located on your screen from this WeakAura. So what I could do is come in here, and if the AoE cast, like these are like timers on AoEs, I could click and drag this wherever I wanted, or different timers, I can move them where I want, instead of messing with this add-on, and you might mess with some settings. The anchor one is what you want to end up moving, and those two work in tandem with this add-on, causes database, and share media. Share media just gives you extra sound effects that can be tied into some of these WeakAuras, or to that particular Weakaura. So they all come together. It sounds complicated, but if you get this Weakaura, the War Within Dungeons, on the Weakaura page, it's going to tell you, okay, get this anchor pack and download these two add-ons, and you're good to go. Cool. All right, next on the list is the Cloudburst Totem. So if you see if I drop Cloudburst, this totem stores your healing, or it stores a portion of your healing, and then after the timer expires, or excuse me, when you manually reactivate it, it's going to distribute that healing across people who need help. So right now, it would heal the group for 4.4 million. Boom. Simple enough. Dragon Riding is just a reskin of the Dragon Riding interface. Nothing to write home about there. Hide bags in menu. So I guess one thing to mention quickly, for my action bar, I'm just using the in-game one. I always used to use Bartender or Dominoes in the past, but the in-game one is like good enough now. The only thing is, I wasn't able to hide the micro menu and the bag menu, so I use a Weakaura to hide it. And the other mildly annoying thing, you'll see this bar that I have hidden at the top here. I wish if I moused over it, it would appear. Like, that's just something you can do with Bartender. Now, I wouldn't have it here because I'd be mousing over this all the time. I'd have it off to the side. But if you guys know of a way to have the default bars, like have that setting where you can mouse over it and have them pop up, that'd be cool. I guess one other thing I didn't talk about, we'll talk about that now, my party frames. This is just the default in-game one. If you go to interface and you go raid frames, these are my settings. I have it set to not show, no health percentages, no health loss, no health remaining, just set to none. And I have display only dispellable debuffs off because I want to see all debuffs that grow out, not just the one that I can dispel. Alrighty, back to the Weakauras. We've got High Tide. This just tracks my High Tide buff and shows how much more mana I need to spend. There you go. It procced, and that's why you hear that water whooshing sound. So now I know my next two chain heals are going to be, they heal for an additional 10%, and they don't get reduced in effectiveness as they jump. So I just know when I hear that, I have two like stronger chain heals. There you go, 1, 2. And then now I need to spend, it says 72. It's like the percentage of, there's some mana, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. That part, you just keep spending. Like this, at a high level, you're never going to just like only cast chain heal when this is up, because sometimes you just need the AoE heal. But it's more just kind of nice knowing that, oh hey, okay, my next two chain heals are going to be a little stronger. Okay, let's go on to the next Weakaura. Mana bar is just what I use for mana bar in the middle of my screen. I may have made this myself or pulled this from another UI. I don't remember. But I don't think you can find just this like on like a Weakaura site. But yeah, it's just a mana bar. There's like 1,000 mana bars you can find online. Men's Dungeon Teleport. This, I need to show you guys my full UI for this one quickly. So on the side of my screen, if you go Mythic Dungeon, if I click on any of these, it actually starts teleporting me to the dungeons because I have the teleports unlocked. I think you get the teleports if you've done a +10 of a dungeon. So it just adds the ports instead of having to go inside your spellbook. And, you go in the ports here, it throws it onto your interface. Alrighty. What's next? Solia's Secret Technique. This is just for my trinket. Like I said before, it pulls in everybody's main stat, so it tells me who I can use it on to get a specific stat that I want. Spirit Walker's Grace shows me when Spirit Walker's Grace is available, kind of in the above my mana bar here. When I use it, the timer overlaps with the cooldown. I can fix that. I'm just kind of too lazy to do that right now. I go by the the radial thing, and then when it starts glowing, I know it's almost done. and it's gone. Now it's red. Just a nice little visual. Okay, tidal wave. I'll skip targeted spells. I'll come back to that in a second. Tidal waves, very similar. Just tracks my tidal waves buff. So every time you Riptide, you get tidal waves. Stacks up to 4 times based with a talent, I believe. Typically it's 2 times, but it can go up to 4. Either it's a talent or a set bonus. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's a talent. As long as you have tidal waves, the cast time of your next... what is it? Cast time of your next healing wave or chain heal reduced by 20%, and the critical effect of your healing surge increased by 30%. So I'll talk about some healing kind of rotations or tips and tricks at the end of this. But for now, that's just, yeah, it's a Weakaura that shows me how many stocks I have. So I talked about this briefly. It's the War Within Dungeons. This is the big Weakaura pack that shows me a lot of the timers and like when a big ability is going to go up. It gives me a lot of visual icons on the screen. So I like this in conjunction with Little Wigs. Zera, Brez, and Lust Tracker. This is for Beta Res and Bloodlust. Just shows the timers, you know, when you have it available. What's the cooldown on it? And then, yeah, last one is targeted spells. This is one I started to use recently. I can't believe it took me this long. It basically shows anytime anybody in your group is targeted by an ability or a spell, it shows it on your screen. This is an example here. Let's just pretend this is an ability that does, like, I don't know, we'll say 20% of somebody's health. If there was only this first icon showing, the person's not in any danger, right? Because they're only going to take 20%. But say this third icon was showing and it has a 4 underneath. I mean, there's 4 instances of this ability that's about to go off on this target. That person's going to take 80% of their health. I know I need to make sure they're at, you know, above 20%. And then say it was this middle one that was on them and it had a 5 next to it. I know if I don't use a defensive on them or they don't use a defensive, they're going to go from 100 to 0 because it's 5 application, you know, 5 times 20, 100. So it just really makes you more aware as a healer of when people are going to be getting hit by stuff. Now, you're going to be seeing a lot of icons show up but then disappear because people are interrupting or stopping some mobs or stunning them. But some casts are just going to go off and, you know, you'll see the timer, and if the timer goes up, somebody's likely going to get hit by something. So if I see somebody's about to get hit by a pot shot or the dynamite cast in Floodgate, and then some AoE's about to happen, I'm going to make sure I'm going to instant cast heal that person to full so that both abilities don't overlap. And in some cases, like in Floodgate, for example, there's that the surveyors do that dynamite. I've had it happen where 2 surveyors target me at the exact same time with the dynamite, and it doesn't get stopped. So if that's going to happen, I need to pop a defensive or I'm going to die. So super, super helpful add-on. For healers, as a DPS, you probably don't need this. Typical like dungeon Weakaura pack to show when you're targeted by something. And that's, you know, typically enough. But as a healer, I need to see what everybody's being targeted by. All right. Those are my add-ons, my Weakauras. Macros, there's not too much to go over other than you'll see I don't have like offensive abilities on my bars, and that's because I have a macro. My macro thing can be kind of messy, but it's off my screen. 1 second. Let's see here. All right, so for healing surge, yeah, I know this is going to be. Oh, look at that. There's like. Is this even the one I'm using? Because there's like a bunch of random text in this. I'm going to fix this. Healing surge. Save that. I must be using a different one somewhere because it typically works. That was weird. This the one? Maybe this is the one I use. Weird. Okay, it doesn't matter. Actually, we can test that real quick. Now I'm curious. Hold up. If I put change name or icon, and I write, yeah, that is the one I used. Crazy. There was just some random text on the last portion of the macro. That is funny. Okay, basically on my healing wave, healing surge, riptide, and chain heal, and purify spirit, I have their offensive kind of counterparts on them. So if I'm mousing over an ally, it's going to healing surge if I press 2. But if I'm mousing over an enemy, it's going to do lava burst. For healing wave, it's healing wave or lightning bolt. For riptide, it's riptide or flame shock. For chain heal, it's going to be chain heal or chain lightning. And then purify spirit, again, on an ally, it'll cleanse them, and if done an enemy, it will use Purge. That just saves some precious action bar space. And other than that, macro-wise, not much on this character. I'll give you guys one version of that macro in the description. Let me add that to my notes so I don't forget. Then all you guys have to do is change the one spell that's listed in there. So if you know, I'll give you guys the Healing Surge one, but you replace it with Healing Wave, and then replace the offensive ability. Instead of Lava Burst, replace it with Lightning Bolt. And basically for everything else, I use mouse over macros. And I think in-game has, by default, you can set everything to be mouse over. But you'll see me oftentimes, like say this Void Soul is casting. Look the one, or say I'm targeting this Void Soul, but I see Star casting. Sure, I could set it as focus, but oftentimes it'll just be like a stray cast that I see in the distance.
So Leah is buff missing.
I'll just mouse over it. Maybe I can show you guys quickly right now. He starts casting. He died too quickly. Whatever. I mouse over and I can press my E key and then I'll interrupt. Yeah, you guys are going to start pulling everything. Let's see. What else is there? Oh yeah, healing tips and tricks. So I don't want to do a full guide on how to heal, but there's just a few things that I want you guys to keep in mind. So for single target healing, you're pretty much 9 times out of 10 using Healing Surge. You're very rarely going to be using Healing Wave, especially the higher keys you get. You just need the speed of Healing Surge. And mana doesn't seem to be too much of an issue as Farseer. But just know if you're just spamming Healing Surge, Healing Surge, Healing Surge, you will use some mana. So, I keep saying so, but take a step back. A way to conserve mana is by actually using your cooldowns. So you got Healing Tide Totem, Ascendance. I have the Trinket, Lumithar's, Living Silk, that puts an Absorb on everybody. And then Spirit Link Totem. And like a minor cooldown is going to be Cloudburst and a certain combo that I'll show you in a second. But by using cooldowns, you're preventing a lot of damage and you're saving yourself from having to blow through a bunch of mana. So keep that in mind. Now, how to heal people, I'll keep it brief, but Riptide, you always want to have Riptides out on people. For one, it gives you your Tidal Wave stacks, and then it makes your cast time faster for Healing Wave and Chain Heal, and higher crit chance on your Healing Surge. But the other thing is, with this talent here, Flow the Tides, so Chain Heal bounces an additional time, and casting Chain Heal on a target affected by Riptide consumes Riptide, and it increases the healing of your next, or of that Chain Heal by 30%. So if I'm going into AoE, there's a few other things I'll do, but I'll make sure I have Riptides rolling on people. Because then as AoE's happening, I'll Chain Heal this target, then I'll Chain Heal this target, and then I might even Chain Heal this target, right? So you're consuming your Riptides, but those Chain Heals are a lot stronger. But obviously, if only one person needs health, then I can Riptide them, then Healing Surge as well. Now, Cloudburst is an interesting one. Like, it's pretty straightforward, and I think a lot of people overthink this. But it's a pretty short cooldown. It's 39-second cooldown. You get 2 charges of it, plus you have Totemic Recall, which you basically get another charge of it every 2 minutes. If you're going into an AoE situation, or if there's back-to-back AoE situations, basically anytime you know you're going to be doing some healing, just drop a Cloudburst, do your regular healing, and then if you need kind of that burst AoE heal, you just activate your totem. Most of the time, I want to activate it rather than letting it expire, but yeah, sometimes you just have a Cloudburst rolling, you don't really have a good opportunity, but in case somebody got hit by like 2 bolts and they're down to like 10% HP, you can just detonate that Cloudburst and heal them back to full. So it's good to just have Cloudburst rolling. In higher keys, you're just going to be taking a lot of AoE damage, like pretty much on most pulls. So having Cloudburst rolling is just a safe thing to do. And lastly, the combo I wanted to show you. So Riptide increases the cast time of your Chain Heal, like I said, but because of that talent, it makes your Chain Heal 30% more. And then if you do Unleash Life, you get a buff that makes your Chain Heal increase healing by 15% and bounce 1 additional time. And it also summons an Ancestor. And then if you do Ancestral Swiftness, gives you more Ancestors, which are going to replicate your cast. And you're going to be healing like crazy. So, sorry, I jumped out a little bit here, but basically the combo is Riptide, Unleash Life, you do your instant cast Ancestral Swiftness, and then you do a chain heal. That is going to heal everybody by a ton. So just keep that in mind. Otherwise, I don't think there's much else to cover. You got your buffs, everything else is just like situational cooldowns. You got your stuns, your knocks, just, you know, use them to try to interrupt stuff. Your defensives, like personal defensives. Earthbind Totem's nice to use if you got to slow some mobs. Yeah, not much else. I think that's pretty much everything. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. Let's go full screen here. Thank you guys for watching, as always. Like I said in the beginning of the video, really appreciate the likes and the comments and subscriptions. And if you guys, it's just such a stupid thing to ask, but yeah, I need more watch time on the videos in order to become partnered. So yeah, if you guys just leave the videos running in the background, that would be super awesome. Or, you know, an even better thing would be sharing it with your friends. But anyways, you don't have to actually do that. I just appreciate any kind of viewership. Thank you guys for everything. If you have any comments or questions about anything I went over in the video, let me know. I will happily answer them in the comments or make a follow-up video if needed. That's everything. Catch you in the next one. Peace.